What we had on 25th of June was unprecedented. And our calling of the KDF was simply to put them on standby should they be needed. And you've seen they have not been needed. But it was a precaution because the criminals who wanted to ban Parliament were also threatening to ban State House and other critical installations.
The Central Committee of the Orange Democratic Movement, meeting under the chairmanship of party leader, His Excellency Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has today resolved as follows. Number one, that the party has officially released its officials who were recently tapped by President William Ruto for national duty as cabinet secretaries. I confirm that I have received the resignations of the Honorable John Mbadi as the national chairperson of ODM, the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi as the Secretary for Political Affairs, His Excellency Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, and Honorable Hassan Ali Joho.
Hello guys, my name is Ahmed Khali for the Unscripted Talks here in Dub Radio. Now, the rift in UDA continues to be even more visible. This is with regards to what is happening in Kakamega with the Secretary General's seat, that is Cleophas Malala. Now, it is alleged that Malala organized some meeting in Kakamega to discredit the Prime Cabinet Secretary Mudavadi's effort to try and bring the Luhya community together. Remember, it is also said this meeting was planned to invite all the leaders across the divide, be it in opposition or those in government. That is when, allegedly, Raila Odinga called and told his members of ODM not to attempt to attend that meeting because it was a meeting that wasn't having anything meaningful for the ODM party or the Luhya community.
Last night I consulted the Azimio leader Raila Odinga, who was in Mombasa, on whether to attend the meeting or ignore. He gave me express instruction to lobby all members of parliament from Western to skip the meeting, both from Azimio and non-Azimio MPs, because the meeting was not going to discuss anything tangible in regard to the Luhya community. If there are issues regarding development, a budget of a country is not done by a Secretary General of a party. Budget is done by the executive, comprises ministers, and is taken to Parliament for approval. It is not discussed in a hotel. The meeting agenda was to discredit the current leadership of leaders in Western Province, led by Prime Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Ambetsa, Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Masika Wetangula, and the current nominee for cooperative slot Wycliffe Oparanya. Those are our current leaders in government.
Now, as you know, there are already the names of the nominees for the cabinet secretaries who will help the president run our nation. Among names is Professor Kithure Kindiki. If you didn't know, his wealth has increased by 150 million in 2 years. And among the questions that he was asked is, why hasn't he taken a political responsibility? Because in his responsibilities as the cabinet secretary for Interior, the police were seen to be using live ammunitions, and so much youth lost their lives. People were unalived. The bodies that were found in Kware, and actually the IG then, that is IG Koome, did resign. So he was asked as to why he didn't resign. Let us listen into the question session.
Kenya's constitution borrows very heavily from the US one, particularly issues to do with the Bill of Rights. And you swore to uphold this constitution and protect it. Recently, you saw in the US that a gunman tried to shoot a presidential nominee and was actually brought down. But despite that, and even missed But despite that, the head of Secret Service resigned their post. Now in Kenya, during your tenure as CS, over 100 Kenyans have been killed, murdered by the police. You know that maybe over 1,000 people have been injured, and property worth billions of shillings has been destroyed. Not to forget that a lot of Kenyans have also been abducted, and as we are talking, there are still people, families that are still looking for their loved ones. Now, we did see that the Inspector General of Police resigned. Do you think that as a CS, you should not also have taken responsibility, political responsibility for that failure that the resignation confirms, and also either resigned or declined the appointment? It's also important to note that during these demos that were held, a lot of people were shot, and there is clamor and request and for justice. In fact, I've attended, one of them was a constituent, Erickson Mutisia, and we've gone to those funerals, and the families are asking for justice. You have forensic evidence because you have the bullets, and you know that every bullet that comes from a gun can be traced. Why have we not seen arrests and arraignment in court of the police officers that are accused or that were involved in these shootings? Because that would appease the public a little bit. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to also point out that the CS has had, the nominee has had a very illustrious career. And, PhD, you've done consultancy all over. And when you are here for the approval hearings in 2022, after all those many years of working, your wealth was at 544 million. Now, 2 years later, your wealth now is at 694 million. That is a whopping 150 million shillings more. Maybe you could explain to us, is this increase probably related to the office that you hold? It would be important for us to know. And finally, Mr. Speaker...
Too many questions, Robert.
Mr. Speaker, just one last one, because we are doing very well with time, Mr. Speaker. One last one, which is because I'm just picking out some of the things that some of the members have said on the matters of insecurity and criminal gangs, Mr. Speaker, that have been out there mugging our people. There's burglaries, in the North Rift, there are all these issues of cattle rustling and all that, which you have admitted there are issues. Now, my question is, when you know that we have such insecurity in the country, what was the logic behind making a decision to send 1,000 police officers to go and secure Haiti when Kenya has a problem? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, his response to all of these queries is too shocking. This is left for you, the viewer, to judge.
Mr. Speaker, those are three questions. The first one, the Honorable Boy asked about whether I should have resigned. The example the member gave about US, where the candidate for presidency was nearly killed, raises a number of issues. One, he says the person who attempted that was killed. That demonstrates use of force, even in our local context, is allowed, because nobody raised issues with that criminal who was wanted to kill Donald Trump. He was shot dead without questions. Number two, the honorable member said that the director of the Secret Service resigned, but also drew a parallel and said our IG also resigned. The minister did not resign in the US. I don't know why the Kenyan minister must resign.
Well, when asked about letting the KDF to come and manage the demonstrations, his response was that those criminals who tried to burn parliament were also thinking of torching the State House. That is why, as a precautionary measure, they had to bring in the Kenya Defense Forces.
What we had on 25th of June was unprecedented. And our calling of the KDF was simply to put them on standby should they be needed. And you've seen they have not been needed. But it was a precaution because the criminals who wanted to burn parliament were also threatening to burn State House and other critical installations.
Meanwhile, The Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja gave the resolutions of the ODM party with regards to the 4 members who were nominated into the cabinet. That is Ali Hassan Joho, that is John Mbadi, Opiyo Wandayi, and Wycliffe Oparanya. Now, he said that the 4 have already tendered their resignations. Now, my question is this: even before they are voted into those cabinet seats, they are already resigning. How sure are they that they're going to get these jobs? Is there something that we don't know? Are these interrogations or questioning just a formality? Well, that's also for you, the viewer, to judge.
The Central Committee of the Orange Democratic Movement, meeting under the chairmanship of party leader, His Excellency Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has today resolved as follows. Number 1, that the party has officially released its officials who were recently tapped by President William Ruto for national duty as cabinet secretaries. I confirm that I have received the resignations of the Honorable John Mbadi as the national chairperson of ODM, the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi as the Secretary for Political Affairs, His Excellency Wycliffe Oparanya, and Honorable Hassan Ali Joho as deputy party leaders of the party, and lastly, Beatrice Askul Moe, who has resigned today as a member of the party's elections committee. Secondly, we reiterate that there is no agreement of any nature between ODM and Kenya Kwanza. ODM therefore remains a member of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition and will continue to play its role as a member of the opposition alongside other parties to push for accountability, transparency and equity in governance and public affairs. Thirdly, that in the wake of the vacancies occasioned by the nominations of these members to cabinet, the party shall be embarking on wide consultation among its membership in order to fill those vacancies. 4, that as far as the vacancies in the party's parliamentary leadership occasioned by the same nominations, the party will be proposing to the Azimio PG, that's a parliamentary group of Azimio, that the Honorable Junet Mohammed take up the role of minority leader vacated by the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi, that the Honorable Millie Odhiambo take up the role of minority whip, that the Honorable Caleb Amisi take up the role of chair of PSC, left vacant by Honorable Mbadi, and the Honorable Oundo to take up the seat of vice chair of PIC. 5, that ODM remains committed to the idea of a national conversation to discuss the emerging issues that precipitated the ongoing crisis in the country. Lastly, the ODM fully supports the issues raised by Kenyans, and particularly the Gen Z, and notes that they are neither new nor difficult to understand. The issues including, but not limited to, equity, unemployment, runaway corruption, were raised by Azimio last year. They also came up following the election violence of 2007-2008 and found their way into the Peace Accord as agenda item number 4, but were forgotten as soon as normalcy returned. They have to be dealt with conclusively once and for all in a structured manner within agreed timelines.
Various umbrellas of the non-governmental organizations, including lawyers, now want authority to investigate the police as they have no faith in IPOA. Why? It is said there is no way the police can investigate the police because ever since IPOA was there, we haven't seen the culprits in the police side being brought to book, those who have unalived protesters, those who have gone against the ethics and codes of National Police Service. We haven't seen anyone being prosecuted. Therefore, it is difficult to set a thief to catch a thief. As in this case, it has been difficult to have the police investigate the police. Therefore, that umbrella of non-governmental organizations are seeking direct authority to do that, since they haven't any faith with IPOA.
We are here today with around 14 families that have come here to IPOA. And all these families that you see here are pointing an accusing finger at the police. And we are saying clearly, in these cases, particularly these cases, because these are people who died while exercising their constitutional rights. Of these cases, we are saying the police cannot investigate the police. The police are accused in this matter. And that is why we have come here today to IPOA, a civilian oversight authority. As you've heard, some of them are magistrates, some of them we know are learned friends and lawyers and everything, and that is why we've come here. And we have all our faith on you, madam, as the chair and of course as IPOA. Kindly, let us not let down these families. Last week, we tried to march in memory of the dead, just to lay flowers to remember those that have died. You saw what happened at the hands of the same police officers. A mother who lost, her nephew was arrested, just trying to remember his nephew. So we're saying we have no faith in the police investigating these matters, and we want IPOA to take full charge, and we expect results in the coming days.
Thanks for watching. My name is Ahmed Khali for the Unscripted Talks here in Dab Radio. Now, if you love content of this nature and you're watching from our YouTube channel, kindly subscribe, press the notification button so anytime that we are live, you'll be notified, or anytime that we pre-record and upload our content, you'll be the very first person to be notified. If you're watching from Facebook, kindly like, comment, share, and don't forget to follow us. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu.
Kwa timba kali za Afrika, Dab Radio ndio mpango mzima.